Why go solar? In this lesson, we want to explore a few of the reasons why people all over the world continue to invest money in solar electric systems and why solar energy is one of the fastest growing sources of new electricity on the planet. Before we get into that, we want to understand a little bit more about utility power systems. Traditional utility grid generation, transmission, and distribution systems look something similar to this, where we have a central generator that's fueled from any of the traditional fuels that we've discussed already. We generate all the energy there. We run that energy through a transmission system, which means we are moving that energy over generally long distances. And then we have what we call distribution, where we begin to break that electricity into smaller circuits so we can feed homes and businesses and towns and villages to supply electricity wherever we need it. Now, most of these traditional systems are also interconnected with other electrical grids and networks, so we can send energy from town to town or sometimes even country to country, and allows us to buy and sell energy from different generation sources. One of the potential issues with traditional generation is a failure at the power generation station or damage in the transmission lines can occur, and we can shut the entire system down because of it. There's a number of different reasons why we can lose power in systems like this. Maybe we have a loss of fuel supply. Maybe there's an issue with the power plant. Maybe something happened in the transmission system and lines got broken. Or we could live in an area where we don't have enough generation to support the local electrical need. We have too much population and too much electrical load and not enough generation. So maybe we only have power on part of the day, or we have rolling power through different neighborhoods where we turn one on and one off. So there's a number of different reasons why we could have interruption of electricity. We can also have issues with localized interruption with electricity. Anything that took out the line or the transformer, old electrical systems, storms, and natural disasters. There's a number of reasons why we could end up losing electricity to our homes and our businesses. So we need to start to think more about generation and power supplies so we can understand how to be more resilient and have electricity whenever we need it. In the past, traditional large-scale utility generation was really one of the only ways to make electricity. And so we didn't have a lot of options before. Now we can have our own power station at our homes. Until recently, the only way to have our own power station at our homes were things like generators, small local generators that we would use as either primary or backup sources to our houses. But as solar becomes cheaper, the inverters become higher quality, batteries become more available and lower cost. We have a lot more options on the market today than we did in the past. If we look at our residential PV power system from a layout, we can have an independent power generation system, and that solar is our generator. Those PV modules and PV panels on our roof create that electricity. We have a transmission system that moves it into the building and then distributes that electricity to all the various loads in our home. Now, this could be a normal grid connected system, or it could be a system with energy storage, and we need to consider that when we start to select different types of solar electric systems. One of the things with a normal grid connected solar power system is that if it does not have energy storage, then the grid-connected solar inverter actually needs not only the solar, but it also needs the utility grid in order to generate electricity. These utility synchronizing inverters that don't have batteries, they are dependent on the utility grid as a means to synchronize with the outer electrical system. And so if we live in an area that does not have outages very often, a traditional grid-connected system might be fine because we're not concerned about backup power that much. If we live in a place where we lose power all the time, this grid connected system might not be the right thing for us or for our clients. So we need to understand how often we lose power in an area and whether we're looking for just an interconnected solar electric system or whether we're looking for a backup system. Any sort of loss of power in the electrical distribution to our home or building with a normal grid connected system with no backup power means the system's going to be off even if the sun's shining. That's a really important thing that we need to understand. That's okay. If we need backup power, we can do that as well. We can build solar power systems with battery storage if we want to have an uninterruptible supply of electricity. So then we can supply our electricity reliably, and if the grid is there, we can synchronize with it. And if the utility fails and something happens to our system, we can operate our solar system coupled with the battery storage to make a solar battery hybrid backup power system to have reliable electricity whenever we need it. Of course, a lot of the things that we're trying to run when we're talking about residential power systems is all of the normal loads that we have in our buildings. We want to have the ability to either offset electrically with a normal grid connected system or back up with a energy storage system, a number of different devices in our home and appliances so we can live comfortably and have the ability to have electricity whenever we want it, or of course to offset the cost of power that we're spending on local grid electricity. So the ultimate application is how do we run our homes and operate in a normal way whenever we need electricity available. One of the things that's really amazing about solar technology is it continues to be more and more cost competitive every year. The price has been declining year after year, and so now it's becoming not only technologically available, but much more affordable to have your own power station, your own power generation. So it's become a normal investment that we need to consider now. In the past, people may have looked at solar and said, this is too expensive, I'm not able to do this now. But the continual decline of price of energy makes solar more and more affordable every day. If we look at this chart, this is showing that solar system costs are decreasing with time. So this is looking from 2009 to 2019, and I know that prices have continued to go down from there. And so this is just a little sample of the cost of solar electricity over the last 10 years, and we're seeing this continual decline in cost globally. So the price of solar varies throughout the world depending on a number of things. It can be access to products, it can be labor costs, interconnection and permitting fees, things like that. And so we'll see that there's always a varied price or cost of energy and equipment no matter where we are in the world. But the trend across everywhere on the planet is that solar is continuing to get cheaper and cheaper year after year, which means it's becoming more accessible to people it wasn't accessible to before, and it's having a faster return on investment than it used to. One of the things with this low cost is as solar continues to come down in price, we're becoming more competitive with traditional non-renewable fuels. So if we look at this graph here, we're looking at a few different things. Let's start on the left, and we can see solar PV on the left. Residential is going to be a little bit higher because they're smaller systems, right? The larger the system we install, the better economy of scale we get, and the lower the price gets. So residential is a little bit more expensive, but is often becoming competitive or is very competitive in certain markets. Commercial solar electricity is cheaper, and then utility scale solar electricity is becoming some of the cheapest supplied electricity into the utility grid anywhere in the world today. If we look at the far right side and we see utility supplied electricity, this is a number of different traditional sources of energy like natural gas, coal, nuclear, And well, natural gas again. The peaking plants are small plants that get put online when utility grids need extra power. Nuclear and coal have been traditional staples of the electrical grids, and gas combined cycle are the bigger, more efficient, more modern natural gas power plants. So you can see that solar PV, residential, commercial, and utility scale, are competitive with traditional utility generation. And if we compare that to, in this case, in the middle with the yellow, what it costs us to operate small scale diesel generators in remote areas, that is much more expensive. And so if we are offsetting costs, we need to know what we're comparing it to. And depending on the price of your local electricity, or if you're using a lot of things like diesel generation, how is solar competitive? And of course, everything comes with location and cost of fuel and scale. And so as you look at your market, you need to compare the cost of solar with the cost of traditional fuels so you can determine what your return on investment is with your system and select whether solar is right for you. And if it's not right for you today, it might be a few years from now because solar continues to decline. But for a lot of places around the world, solar is now competitive with traditional sources of energy. And that's a really exciting time to be in the renewable energy business. One of the other financial benefits, other than cost competition with traditional fuels, is we can actually fix our cost of energy into the future. So solar can be paid off as a fixed cost. And what that means, if we look at this graph, if we continue to buy electricity on the open market, traditionally electricity prices continue to rise over time. And so we can look at what the historical price of energy is and what the average rate increase for electricity is year after year. If we look into the future, we can look at this red line here and we can see what's the projected utility rates into the future. Of course, that's a projection because we don't know for sure. But if we look at traditional rate increases and we extrapolate that out into the future, we can see where we think the cost of energy is going to be for us 10 years down the road. Now, if we buy a solar electric system, depending on how we pay for it, there's a number of different ways that we can pay for solar, either an upfront cost, a loan, leases, and a number of things that we'll talk about in lessons later on here in this training. But if we pay for solar, we can actually essentially fix our cost of electricity into the future by investing in the solar and paying off that system over time, which basically is kind of buying the amount of electricity that we're going to get out of that system for the next 10, 15, 20, 25 years into the future. So we've really locked in our price of electricity. And that actually, for a lot of businesses, can help us better understand our future costs and hedge against increased rates of electricity, which can be a much, a great cost benefit and some, I guess, just peace of mind, knowing that we have a fixed price, we've bought our system, and now we know exactly what our energy is going to cost 10 years from now. Now, one of the other things, other than, we have the financial payback, but a lot of people often ask about things like, does solar produce as much energy over its lifetime as it takes to create the solar modules? And there's been a lot of studies done over the years. And if you look at what is often called the embodied energy, how much energy did it actually take to make the solar panel? And then how much energy does the solar panel make over the life of the system? And if we see here on this graph, the blue on the left is the time for modules to generate all the energy used to make them. And the green is that modules continue to produce electricity or energy from sunlight. And so we have a system that once we buy it, it's really only about 1 to 2 years for a lot of the typical solar modules that it produces its energy, and then everything it produces past that is basically energy positive. So solar panels produce the amount of energy very quickly that it took to make them, and everything after that is basically, excess energy that it's been generating. Different solar modules have different warranties out there, and of course their lifespan will vary based on the location, but modules typically are guaranteed for 25 years, which means most of the solar modules in the world have a 20 to 25 year warranty. And so we're going to see that energy payback in that system over time. Some of the other benefits of solar energy is things like clean water, and value of living and quality of life, and thinking about how it affects our lifestyle and our neighborhood and our health. And so we can do a lot of different things with solar that can really improve the household quality of life. We can do things like water pumping, water heating, making regular electricity available, filtration systems to make us healthier so we're drinking clean water, a number of things that we can use. Anything from, on larger scale applications, we can do desalination with solar, and any number of possible things. So this can bring us much better localized into our home level, quality of life from solar energy. Another application, of course, that I've mentioned a number of times as far as the quality of life benefits is thinking about farming and agriculture. We can use solar to offset anything from, pump systems and pump stations to other high electricity agriculture needs. Agriculture, of course, is the heart of everything we do as humans to produce all the food that we need to be healthy and live a prosperous life. And so solar is a great application for farming and agricultural situations and clients and customers, to really embolden them to be better at their work and to fix their cost of energy so they can continue to produce great food for the world, even in remote areas. Another great benefit as we continue to think about how solar affects us and why we want to invest in it is social benefits like job creation. The solar industry employs so many people today, and every year we're getting bigger workforces being developed all over the planet of people who are specializing in solar installation, in manufacturing, in operations and maintenance, and troubleshooting. So the use and the growth of solar energy in the world has really become a huge job creation program. And so there's, it's really an exciting industry to be a part of, and to see the number of jobs and new opportunities that continue to come out every year because of the growth of solar energy. So it's another great social benefit that we need to look at when we consider our investment in solar versus traditional energy. And then, of course, other environmental benefits. So beyond just the cost and the ability to clean water and to have a healthier lifestyle and to improve agriculture and jobs, we can improve the environmental quality of the world around us, whether that's in our small communities or whether that's the bigger globe. And so things like air quality control. By putting in more and more solar, we can start to reduce the amount of generators and smaller gas-fired applications that we're seeing that often litter cities with smog and pollution, whether that's factories or automobiles or homes or burning wood or running diesel. We know that there's a lot of cities around the world that are very congested with a lot of pollution. And as we transition away from some of our traditional methods and move towards more renewables, we can start to clean up our air quality and move towards a better quality of life overall, not only for our community, but also for our planet. And then if we take a step back and we think about all of these various reasons that we may want to go solar, no matter what your reason is, at the end of the day, we can also impact the global climate change situation that we're dealing with. And so going solar combats global warming, and is one more way that we can start to reduce our impact in the world. And what's exciting is that this technology is now not only becoming more cost effective and available, we can do things today by investing in solar that not only saves us money, but actually has a return on investment, a better quality of life for our communities, and a reduction of global warming for our world. And that is a win-win-win situation here when we can really look at how the benefits of solar can tie to all these other potential environmental and community-based benefits to make a better world for all of us. And that's a really exciting thing and a great reason to invest in something that actually has a return on investment as well. So it's a very exciting time to be a part of this energy revolution that we're seeing all over the planet right now with the growth of renewable energy.